did want to let all of our students know today that we're going to pull a roster of everyone who's in attendance today. And then after the session today, we're going to do just a random selection, like a little raffle. And 3 of our students are going to be lucky winners of signed copies of some of Chef Fany's books. So, added bonus for showing up today. So that's pretty exciting. She's published 3 different books. We're going to talk about them in a little more detail. Not only the books themselves, but also the process of authoring a book and what she did in particular to create one of her first books. But yeah, so she's written 3 books. One's called My Sweet Mexico. The other is Mexican Ice Cream. And then the third one is called Paletas. So we'll wait a couple more minutes. Right now we have 164 people here with us this afternoon. So I'm sure we'll have some other folks logging on here in a couple of minutes. I'm Chef Miles Mitchell. I'm the Chief Academic Officer for Escoffier, and I'm in Chicago, and we have faculty, online faculty who are logged in from all around the country, and I see a lot of our Austin faculty here on the screen right now. Nice to see you guys. If it had been a normal year, I would have been down to visit in person, but hopefully we can start doing that again sometime soon. I know we have some of our Boulder faculty that are going to be on with us today as well from the school out in Colorado. So pretty exciting. Really happy to see our students here as well. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun stuff to talk about. So we're going to have 184 people on right now. So that's pretty cool. And Fany is in New York City. You're actually in Brooklyn right now, correct?
Yeah, I'm in Brooklyn in our production facility.
Okay, awesome. And you're going to give us a little tour here, I think, in a little bit, right?
Yeah, in a little bit.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, it's 3 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get things kicked off. And like I said, today we're here with Chef Fany Gerson, and Fany is she's been featured in the New York Times, Food and Wine, Fine Cooking, Savoir, Fast Company, and New York magazines, among other publications. In 2010, she launched her own company called La Newyorkina, which is makes frozen treats, Mexican frozen treats. And she was also the chef and co-founder of Dough, which was an artisan gourmet donut shop in New York at a couple of different locations. But bigger and better and newer, coming up in the very near future, is a brand new donut shop called Fan Donuts. It's going to be located in Brooklyn, so that's exciting. Fany is a graduate of the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, New York. And she also, before striking out on her own and becoming an author and an entrepreneur, she worked in Spain, in San Sebastian, Spain, at Aquelarre, which is a 3-star Michelin restaurant. And then she also worked in Manhattan at 11 Madison Park, another Michelin restaurant, one of the best restaurants in America. So as I was saying previously, Fany has written 3 books, My Sweet Mexico, which was nominated for a James Beard Award, which is pretty amazing, and Paletas, and Mexican Ice Cream. And I'm really thrilled to have her here with us today. Full disclosure, she's also a friend of mine. I've known Fany since 1996. And I'm really thrilled that she could join us today and spend some time just talking about her life in the kitchen. So, and you also have like a slideshow you wanted to share. Maybe you could say a few words, and and then we can kick off with sharing that if you like.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you, Chef Miles, for inviting me It's exciting that, you know, the platform that you guys have, I know we've talked about it in the past. I think that your school seems to be kind of ahead of the times, which is great. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. And I just want to apologize in advance because I'm sure there's going to be interruptions because we are in production. So there's going to be maybe like, we have certain, we made some meals that are going to be donated and they're picking them up. We have some other stuff that they're picking up. So, you know, just want to apologize in advance for that. And yeah, so like Miles said, I am from, well, I don't know if you said, I think you did. I'm from Mexico City. And I've been here in New York for 20 years now. And I put this kind of slideshow together. You're gonna show it, right?
Yeah, we're gonna run it. I think Chef Ann has that, so she'll share it with her screen.
Okay, that's my husband in the back who I work with. So you'll see him in the shadows as well. See, right on cue. And so I put the slideshow together because I thought it'd be a good way to kind of tell you a little bit about sort of not just what I do, but the how and the why, you know, and then afterwards, if anybody has any questions about that, you know, or any point, I guess you can, oh, somebody's from Mexico. I just saw. Hola, Lilian. So, does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get your slideshow up here.
All right. Okay. So.
There we go.
Okay. So then I'll just go like this for next or right? Because you have to do it.
Yeah, just tell us when you're ready. We'll go to the next slide.
Okay. So, you know, for me, sort of, I think that one of the most important things for me and what I do is exactly what it says in this slide. It's bridging cultures and breaking stereotypes. Coming from Mexico, there's a lot of assumptions and a lot of misconceptions. When I was writing my cookbook, when I was doing the research, actually, people were like, oh, there's a whole book about, there's sweets in Mexico. You can write a whole book about it. And then here in the States, you know, it's like, you get your fair share of assumptions like, oh, does everyone wear a sombrero? And everybody, you know, it's like, oh, you speak English? Or sometimes it's like, well, you don't even look Mexican. I don't even know what that means. So, you know, I think that food is a very powerful thing in that way. So we can get started. Perfect. So, but at the core of everything, you know, everything that I do has a purpose. But at the end of the day, it's all about making people happy, right? So here you see the one on the left is my husband and some friends enjoying some paletas at the High Line. You can go to the next slide. And we get to be part of celebrations. And, you know, how many memories do you have that are linked to food? And I think that when we get to be part of those celebrations, it's super meaningful. And it can be, you can have a really horrible day and have a treat or something that brings you comfort and everything seems to be okay for a second. But this way we also get to share part of our culture. And go to the next slide. Again, part of celebrations. So these are just some different examples of, you know, like the joy and the things. This is in a bar in New York that sells like our paletitas with Prosecco. And so it's a treat that is meant for, is known, you know, for kids, but adults find sort of like their inner kid as well. Go to the next slide. Go to the next one. Okay, so, you know, when I think about sort of when you narrow down, like, so what is it about my culture And I think that what I try to do is always come from a place of authenticity. And I think that that word gets misused a lot, you know, authentic. And to me, authenticity is what is authentic to you, you know, because for example, if you take, if you go to New Orleans and you taste somebody's gumbo, they're gonna say, well, this is authentic. And, you know, their neighbor may have also have a recipe that they've been doing for, you know, many generations, and to them, and it's very different than the other one. So which one is more or less authentic? So, you know, so I think that that word gets sort of used a lot. So, but to me, all of these represent sort of what is authentic to me. So to me, when I think about Mexican culture and, you know, what the different components are, and that defines sort of a lot of decisions that I make and why I do things, I divide it into these things. So first, you know, I'm extremely proud of where I come from, and I find inspiration in the culture itself, in the rich history, in the people, in everything that I've been lucky enough to discover, investigate, and explore. To me, when I think of Mexico, I think of color. That's one of the first things that come to mind, and you'll see later how that's reflected. And color, not just in the literal sense, but also how people are. And you know, I think that I like to use what I do and to, you know, in a way to tell a story, you know, to tell a story about where I come from, but also a personal story, you know, and that allows me to sort of be very imaginative and very creative in what I do. At the core, quality is obviously extremely important. Where we source, how we source, have a high quality product. You know, it's a lot of people are like, oh, you went to culinary school and you end up doing, you know, popsicles, you know, kind of like downplaying it. And I'm very proud that I get to do that. You know, and I'm extremely passionate of what I do, and that drives so much. And at the end of the day, this industry is driven by passion, in my opinion. It's not an industry where you come because you're gonna, you know, become a millionaire or anything like that. So go to the next one. So again, we talked about the Mexican pride. And, you know, part of what I want to show is also, you know, even in the logo itself, right? And you're going to see it later on, or everything that I do is, you know, what it means to be Mexican for me, and to show Mexico in a way that other people that are from there or that come from different cultures, it doesn't have to be Mexican, you know, can identify that celebrating where you come from is meaningful. Go to the next one. So these are just some images of different parts of Mexico that I took during my, when I did some research, and some that I found in the internet. And it just, you know, just for you to capture and to transport you for a second. This is sort of the landscape that I grew up with and you know, everybody in Mexico, you know, these are things that we often take for granted. I mean, the one on the right, you know, it's a very common scene. It's like all these jellos and flan and custards that they have. And there's so much beauty and magic in that, you know, because we have it, I think, always. You know, I always say sort of being away from home is what brought me closer to it. So you can do the next one. So these are some traditional Mexican ice cream, the barrels. So we have these ice creams that are called nieve de garrafa, which are the ones in the barrels, and they're hand paddled. So it's kind of like a churn, but it's really like a paddle. But I love, you know, and most of the ice creams in Mexico are actually made, they're water-based, so they're sorbets, because fruit is extremely abundant. And I was very surprised when I moved to the US, and I hadn't really noticed, honestly, but even like when I traveled to Italy, I noticed like most of the flavors in ice cream shops are cream based and very few are water based. And in Mexico it's the other way around. And if not, it's at least half. And most of the creamy flavors are still fruit. And that comes from sort of the enormous variety that we have. And in Mexico, it's very common, you know how in the States you have round containers in most ice cream shops. Gelato shops have rectangular containers, shallow. And in Mexico, the square ones are the ones that are most traditional when they're not served in the barrel. So when you start to sort of think about all these different nuances, that maybe it's like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. Like ice cream is ice cream, right? Like to me, it was very important. So we brought the one on the right is the way, you know, kind of like in the vehicle that we serve it in the shop, one of them. We do a hand paddled ice cream. I wanted to do like a whole shop with only hand paddled ice cream, but the truth is the labor is too expensive and nobody would pay for what it would be worth. But we have a few and then we keep them this way. So I just wanted to show you that because like sort of the craftsmanship behind what goes into everything is sometimes not even, it's very, it goes unnoticed, but it should be not just noticed, but celebrated. Okay, go to the next one. This is on the right, they're making sugar skulls for Day of the Dead. And I went on a chef trip with different chefs and mixologists to Mexico. And it was only a couple of us that were actually from Mexico, but it was so exciting to go. We were in the state of Puebla, and all of a sudden we were walking, and I see like in this alleyway, like something's going on, and you know, one of those things that you feel like it's meant to happen. And they were making these skulls, and I went crazy. My friends were like, "You're like a little girl, like trying chocolate for the first time." And I'm like, this is so magical. They made these molds. They used these molds. They made the molds themselves. This is what he does for a living, you know, for just for one of the highest holidays in Mexico, the most important holidays in Mexico for Day of the Dead. So for about 2 months, he does like the work for that you know, can support his family for the entire year. Go to the next one. This is one of our most popular treats that we have. It's called the Chamoyava. It's kind of like a mango slushy with pickled plum sauce and tamarind candy straw and salted chili. So it's sour, sweet, spicy. And then in the back, you can see that's part of a mural that we have at the shop. But when you look at this photo, it's like that's La Newyorkina. That's who we are. You know, like it's colorful, it's vibrant, it's fun, you know, it's supposed to make you smile. Go to the next one. So again, I talked about sort of like the thought that goes behind, you know, how we source, right? And when I first started out, I really wanted to test the flavors of Mexico, how people responded to them. So I started out making 5 flavors to test the idea of you know, are people gonna like the flavors of Mexico? So I remember strawberries were just starting to be in season, and I thought, well, I could make strawberry, and people will like it because people love strawberry. But I really wanted to taste that, to get a taste and see, do people like those flavors? So I decided to make 5 flavors that were quintessential Mexican flavors: mango chili, coconut, hibiscus, passion fruit, and I think tamarind, or maybe lime. I don't remember. But then, you know, I thought, well, you know, as time went by, I said, you have all this amazing produce that, you know, is different than what we have in Mexico. In Mexico, we don't have Concord grapes like we have in the slide here. And I thought part of Mexican cuisine is actually embracing what's in your surroundings. So you have different flavors and different things that you won't find in neighboring towns, not even just neighboring, you know, cities. So, you know, we source as much as we can, because also, you know, the margins and having a business in New York is difficult. So, but as much as we can, you know, the vanilla we use is from Mexico. Some of the chocolate we use is also from Mexico, from Oaxaca. This is Franca. We've been, you know, I've been buying from her for years now. And she, you know, she has a place called Berry Treasures, and she has the most amazing strawberries. So I haven't seen her this season, and I hope she comes back soon. But you know, she has one of the best flavors that I came up with, like in talking to her, was she has this beautiful verbena, which is, if you haven't had it, it has like this lovely, like citrusy flavor, like lemony flavor. And I did like a verbena with black raspberries and red raspberries. That's a flavor you'd never find in Mexico. But everything that I do should transport you. You know, my intention is it still transports you, even if, so it has to have, to me, like the essence of it, something about it has to take you there, even if these flavors are not so traditional from them. Go to the next one. Again, just some images of Mexico. On the left it's a delicious drink called Tejate, and it's, you know, look at the way that this is served. It's so ceremonious, and these are gourds that are decorated, and you find this in many markets, especially in central and south of Mexico. And it's a cold, refreshing drink made of corn and cacao. Then it's, you know, a fruit stand at a market, and then that's in a place called Texcoco near Mexico City. It's a stand that makes ice cream, one of the most amazing ice creams that I've had. And they do this cool thing where they put they make, like with the back of the spoon, like they hollow it, so you have the caramel sauce, goat's milk caramel sauce in the middle. Go to the next one. And again, so these are some of the flavors that I have, and I love this photo that a friend of mine took, because you take something that is, again, a popsicle. I remember when Chef Miles and I were studying in school, I had a friend also from Mexico. She was a roommate, and we were craving paletas, and we asked her first, like, where can we find paletas? And they didn't know what it was, so we did a little drawing, and they're like, oh, popsicles. I'm like, okay, popsicles. So where can we find them? And they said, oh, you can go to the supermarket. And we said, the supermarket? That's strange. Okay. So we went to a supermarket and we asked, and we got this thing. It was like Kool-Aid on a stick. I'm like, this is not a paleta. You know? So, you know, I was like, no, you got it all wrong. So, you know, you take something that seems, you know, that's not special, and we put, you know, all of these little things, you know, you kind of like, you chef it up, as they say. But it's more like you take I try to take sort of the things that I've learned from, you know, the restaurants that I worked at, sort of those principles, those things, and put them into something that's common and that makes it special. So on the left, it's a verbena. This one just has like regular raspberry. Then we have one I call Fresa Fields. It's a Maria cookie with strawberries and cream. Then the one in the middle is called Bandera, which means flag, Mexican flag. And the one next to it is lemon ginger. And the lemon is candied lemon. You know, so it's all these little things, right? For me, it's all about the little details. Even the girl that's on the stick, and inside when you eat it, it says La Newyorkina. And then the one on the right is a mango chamoy, which is like that pickled plum sauce that I talked about. So again, it's all about the little details that make it, you know. And by the way, I don't like to use any colorings. I love color, but I don't like to use any coloring. So, you know, I always find it, you know, amazing when people come like, oh, you don't use coloring, and we probably say no. So you can go to the next one. This is right before we open the shop, some of the ice cream that we have. Go to the next one. And, you know, I talked about sort of the purposefulness and, you know, the fact that it's handmade and the fact that it's from Mexico, and we want that to be echoed all throughout. So when it came to designing the shop, we flew in this Mexican artist that does art. She does usually like using rappel, you know, like, to do huge murals. And so this was a very small mural for her. And she kind of went with it. I told her like sort of what, you know, we wanted to represent. We definitely wanted some colors and fruit, and then she just went with it, and we were very happy with it. In New York, I do have to say, we actually had to get approval, and a lot of the neighbors, not the neighbors, like the committee, you know, they were not in favor, but luckily we won. They're like, why do you have to have so much color? Literally. I'm like, again, just wanted to point out sort of the little detail. Go to the next one. And, you know, we do everything handmade. So these are, you know, this is Carmen and Lily, and they've been with me for, I think like 6 years, 7 years now. So, you know, I think of everybody that works, you know, I don't think of it like they work for me. I really think of us as like my Newyorkina family. And it has been hard with everything going on, not seeing them. And I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing them soon. Again, these are just some of the different flavors, I mean, things that we have. And you know, to me, if I didn't know anything about a culture and I saw this, like I wanted to show you, it's like, it's so diverse. It's so, you know, that I just think it's beautiful. I see it all the time. We make it all the time, but I think it's really special. And I always have a problem editing what we do. I like to do too many things. That's where my husband comes in. It's like, but I just wanted to show you sort of, you know, because even though we started making paletas, I knew I needed to do more because of the seasonality. And so, you know, we've done different things for the holidays, and we keep expanding and changing things around. You can go to the next one. Also, when I did the research of my book, I was so, I was fortunate enough to spend a year traveling around Mexico doing research for my cookbook. And for the most part, a lot of traditions and culinary traditions, but particularly sweet traditions in Mexico are part of an oral tradition, meaning they're passed down from generation to generation. So there's not a lot of documentation, and my intention was to try to document as much as I could to give continuity. But I was also extremely touched by a lot of the people that I met. And I felt the less people had, the more giving that they were. So I knew whenever I opened something, if I was lucky enough, I wanted to give back. And being in the industry, when you have a business, at least in New York, you are asked like hundreds of times throughout the year to give to so many charities, and there's so many needs, and we have donated our time and, you know, our products, money to a lot of organizations, but it was always important to me to give back to Mexico. That's not just where I come from, but it's also what's inspiring me, and I want to always remember where the roots. So throughout the years, I've donated in different ways. Sometimes we're not able to donate money because money is tight, but we buy some of the chocolate that some of these women make. When I had our wedding, we did you know, gifts from everybody that, like from a collection of women that are part of this organization. And this organization is amazing. The word crea comes from belief and from create. And I urge you to look into it. It's an amazing organization. And they actually just released like a COVID package thing with different women's, you know, trying to do. And when I started out, it was a pilot program of 12 women. And now I think it's over 4,000 women. that are part of the program. So it's been amazing. So go to the next slide. And we're coming near the end, and like I said, there's a lot of stuff that goes behind just a simple treat that maybe people don't care or don't know about, but that are very meaningful and important to me. And I just wanted to share that. And at the end of the day, La Newyorkina means the girl from New York. And in a way, that's how I feel, like it's rooted in Mexico, but I also feel that I've become a New Yorker as well. So it's kind of my own cultural blend. There we go. That's now some of we started doing some packaged products 2 summers ago. And, that's what we're hoping to be able to distribute nationwide. That's the box of paletitas. And these are some designs that are from Mexico. And I love the one that says Mexico 68 was from the Olympics. And I feel like it still feels relevant. I think and it's so varied. The design in Mexico is incredible. Both the classic and the modern, and it's just a continuous inspiration for everything that we do. Go to the next one. And I love this, this quote that I found once, and I think it's so true. And, when it comes to what I do, I think it's like you taste the culture. It's not just the culture of Mexico, but it's the culture of La Newyorkina. And I think you get to understand it. And that is our motto, sharing the sweetness of Mexico. And I think that's it. I think that's the end of the slide. So I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Thanks, Chef. Thanks, Fany. So that was really nice. Thank you. I want to encourage all of our students, if you have questions, you can drop your questions in the chat. And then a little bit later, before we finish, Chef Ann is going to read, she's going to select a few of those, and she's going to read a few of those questions to Chef Fany. So I have a few questions for you, and I think you answered this to a certain degree, but when you talked about it already, but when you were researching your first book, My Sweet Mexico, you traveled around Mexico for a year, going to various states, and in order to do that research, I was wondering what that meant to you personally to be able to go on that journey. I think you've addressed that to a certain degree, but I didn't know if there was anything else you wanted to share in regards to that.
Yeah, to me, having the opportunity to do that was incredible. I was also going through a very difficult time in a personal way. And I found refuge, in many ways that allowed me to really dig deep. And I realized it was very eye-opening in the sense of, like I said before, so many things that I grew up with that I always loved and appreciated, but in a much bigger way, in a much bigger sense. But also, now, and not to get sort of like into politics or anything like that, but, this was a little over 10 years ago when I did the research. I don't know if I'd be able to do the research that I did then now because of the situation in Mexico, and that makes me sad. I still want to continue researching, and I will, but I just have to be a little more cautious. So I think I feel it was just life-changing, and I feel extremely appreciative of it. And it just opened my eyes to so much more, that I wanted to learn, that I needed to. And when I came back, like one of the things is I kept sort of looking, before I wrote the book, I kept looking for the book that I wrote, for years. And so that to me, like I will continue as much as I can to continue writing and researching, because there's so much to be said and shared.
So, you know, there's so many different avenues that a culinary student can pursue after they graduate. And I was just wondering if you could share some of those alternative pathways with our students. You know, not everyone has to go into a restaurant or a hotel and be a cook. I mean, there's so many different things that you can do. You're an example of that. What can you share in that regard?
Yeah, I think there's so many different avenues that I personally didn't know. I don't know if you did, and maybe now they weren't as available, but nowadays there's so many resources to even find out about this. But first of all, whatever you end up doing, like having the foundation that you have now is going to help you in life, in your career, in every way. But, you know, there's like from, you know, there's like obviously like food writing, there's filming, there's styling, there's, you know, people that help in you know, sort of programs that have to do with like school policies and you know, recipe and development. I mean, there is so much, you know. I mean, it is incredible. There's education there's, I mean, there's so many programs. It's an amazing industry to be part of. And you know, there's design, there's packaging, there's consulting, there's, you know, so many different things that you will have an opportunity to do, that I encourage you to think outside the box. I remember, I don't remember his name. I just spaced out, but there was a guy that studied with us. Maybe you remember that he went to culinary school and he did not want to be he didn't want to cook. He wanted to know about the industry, and he wanted to be into wine. And he ended up working at Sotheby's or Christie's, like an auction house, in the wine department. Do you remember him?
No, but there were several people, you know, there's some people that went
Yeah,
into
there's
like
several
front of house operations, they, you know, so it's definitely, there are a lot of opportunities, whether they be
event planning. You know,
yeah,
I mean, there's so much.
exactly. So you're in the international epicenter of the coronavirus pandemic right now, in New York, living in New York City. So I was just wondering how you've employed creativity and ingenuity to continue to provide opportunity for yourself and for some of your staff during the period of quarantine and isolation that we all just went through or still going through.
Yeah, so New York, you know, it's still sort of going through it, and it has been a very difficult time. But you know, different people sort of react to different situations differently. This is not very different level, but this is not the first sort of crisis that I go through. And I found something that you know, for me, I need to keep on moving, you know, like in order to, like, that's, if I stay paralyzed, like then I'm gonna worry, because, you know, you gotta try. And I think that's part of like how I was brought up, or maybe that's part of being an immigrant, or that's just a personality, or all the above. But at first, you know, we had to let everybody go. You know, hopefully temporary, not stay open every 2 days. We're like, we can't. Everybody's safety is an important thing. And I feel everything happened so quickly, and we were getting ready. So because we have a seasonal business, we were just getting ready to start like our big season. We were starting to rehire. We were getting, you know, it's kind of like, oh, the wheels are turning. And then all of a sudden we had to kind of like push the brakes, and still we don't know a lot of stuff. And, you know, we ended up, I'm also Jewish, and the Jewish holidays were coming up. And so we decided to do like a Mexican Passover menu, you know, which I've done some events in the past, because even though I focus in pastry, I started my career in the savory side. And I thought, you know, I don't get to spend it with people. And that's just something, you know, like I'm a nurturer, and I wanted to do something. Coincidentally, around that time, we got approached by an organization called the Jewish Food Society, who we've done some work with in the past. And they asked if we would be interested in cooking some meals for hospital workers and volunteers. And we said, absolutely. And then we were able to rehire some staff, but some of the staff that we've had for a long time, they did not want to come back. Some of them, they have young children. Some of them were very scared. And, you know, we obviously, you know, we want them to feel safe as much as we want to provide work. So we hired some staff, and that was amazing. And then we said, okay, we have the staff, and we are able to, you know, we're able to contribute to a need. We're able to rehire people, so take care of us and keep moving, right? Right now it's about keeping the light on with so much uncertainty. And then we decided, okay, so I always think that there's something great that happens in crisis, at least in my experience, is the creative thinking that can happen. Look at all the stuff that's happening around in the middle of a crisis. You know, people that normally do, like, they run out of supplies in a lot of hospitals, and people that normally make something that has nothing to do with it, you know, filling that void that they needed. So a lot of people sort of stepping up and trying to stay afloat. So we came up with El Newyorkino. So that's inspired by our son, and, you know, we do Mexican home style meals that people pre-order and we deliver. So we kind of reinvented ourselves, you know, just to keep afloat. And we did a lot of meals. Like, we've done up to now more than 10,000 meals.
Wow, that's awesome.
For different people. And also we started taking donations and making tamales to feed some communities. And then, you know, we had different partnerships of different kinds. The first ones, you know, they run out of funds. I know we've been trying to continue to do that because there's still a need. Even as things are opening up, there is an enormous need. And we've been helping communities, not just in hospitals now, but also mainly immigrant communities from different parts of the world. And, you know, we're doing what we can, but also trying. And then today we actually reopened the store, but it's raining, and I don't think we've had anybody there. but hoping, you know, they have everything super ready. And, you know, you just keep moving. That's, and I can tell you I'm exhausted. Like, I'm exhausted.
Speaking of that, I mean, you're a chef and you're an entrepreneur, author, you're a wife, you're a mother. How do you strike a balance between all of those things?
I think it's you kind of have to accept the fact that you're never going to have like a real balance, you know, because there's not enough hours in the day. And right now it's been really hard on a personal level because we have a 2-year-old and we haven't been seeing him as much as we'd like, ironically, because we're just working so much just to keep things afloat. And because everything is different, everything requires much more attention than where before we were able to step aside a little bit more because things already have a flow and things like that. And, you know, we did talk a lot about in the beginning, like, are we doing the right thing? You know, stay, like, trying to stay open. Do we stay at home? Like, is that, you know, like, what's the right thing? And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. It was more like, well, this is what we feel is right now. And I think it's more about quality rather than quantity. And right now it's sort of like everything, it's like different than the normal.
Yeah.
So you just have to adapt, and you kind of have to do the best that you can, and be a little bit forgiving, because sometimes I think
coconut oil.
Oh, I heard something.
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, okay. And so I don't think that there's a true balance, but you know, it's like I said, just try to be forgiving, and we're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it's just being human, I guess. So, you know, it's a tough industry. A lot of businesses, many people experience business failures or they change careers. What you spoke to this earlier, but I'm just wondering from your perspective, if you could share with us what part passion plays in longevity. And then I think maybe you're going to show us around the shop a little bit after that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I think passion is a big part of it, but more than that, I think it's grit. You know? I think it's sort of like, you know, my dad always likes to say that I get married to my ideas. And he says it as a negative thing, but I get it from him, you know, to be honest. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that you kind of stick to your guns. You do have to have flexibility on how you go about it. And you have to be able, like, you can be passionate. And I am stubborn by nature, for sure. And I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, and I continue to make them. And I do wish I could go back. You know, when they say, oh, I would do everything exactly the same as I've learned from it. No, I would go back and do some things differently if I could, especially when it comes to like partnerships, business
Right.
partnerships. But passion plays a big role. But I think also it's you know, you can't, if you don't believe in yourself, you're gonna have a hard time getting others to believe in you and in whatever you do, whether it's you have your own business or you have, you know, and that's a hard thing, you know. Everybody is full of your own insecurities and doubts, and, you know, but I encourage you to sort of, that's why I when I mentioned about authenticity, that's what I think is like very important. Like, think about what it is that you do, that you feel at your core, that you are proud of, that you are, you know. And I think that is more, that comes with passion, but it's not just passion. Like, passion drives that, but it's more than that. Like, what is the purposefulness of what you do and why you do it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So do you want to?
Yeah, so I'm gonna, so a little, so this is our warehouse space that, you know, this mess in the back is because we're in the middle of moving, but when everything happened, things closed and we weren't able to, not move the space, but we were doing some changes. So it's like, it's a warehouse space, and this space itself is in a place, in a neighborhood called Red Hook, and it actually flooded during Hurricane Sandy, which sucked, but sorry. but we're still here, and I'm gonna give you a little quick tour of the kitchen, and then we make the stuff here for the shop, but I'm gonna give you a quick tour.
All right, sounds great.
All right, so
let's do it.
Okay. Hold on. Okay. So. Okay. So. Hold on. Hold on. So this is our kitchen. Let me see. Okay, so this is how we kind of keep our inventory of the paletas and ice cream, which we're changing. So we put it down all the way. I don't know if you can see it. So from this door to, I wish you can see, all the way back there is freezer space.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to go in the freezer, but I'm not sure you can see anything. Okay?
Don't lose the connection.
Hold on.
I think we're losing you.
And it's,
You spoke too soon.
Hey, Fanny, I don't think the Wi-Fi is working in there.
it's an ice cream. But the coolest thing, okay. Sorry. Okay. So this is the coolest thing, guys. Are you ready? So this is how we make the paleta. All right. So you have don't know. It's not quite ready, but I'm gonna show you how it works. So this machine, her name is Letty, okay? We name our important equipment. And so right now, this is called a stick aligner. And you put all the sticks there. See? So we're making coconut right now. So we have chunks of fresh coconut. We put a little bit of salt to bring some of the juices out. And then these are the molds. Préstame uno de esos, pero no, this thing, when it comes out, it holds the sticks all together at once. And then we put them in this bath. So this has a thing called propylene glycol, which is an antifreeze that's mixed with water. And basically it just circulates. It circulates around and it's negative 23 degrees Celsius.
Oh, wow.
And then we test them. Préstame un palito. So this isn't quite ready. Almost. So we're gonna do it just so you see it, even though it's not quite ready, but I want you guys to see it, okay?
Okay.
So, take it out. Then we let it drain a little bit there. Ay, me pasas un contenedor de esos. Porfa. Okay, and now, sorry. So now we have this other machine, and all that does is it's hot water, okay? And we're gonna unmold it. Okay, just give me 1 second. And then you can see you fit a lot of them at once, okay?
Okay.
Now we're gonna unmold them. Just trying to position. A ver, ¿me puedes detener esto? Ponte del otro lado. Okay, I'm gonna have somebody hold it because I can't do both. Okay. No te mueves. All right. So we put this here. Again, it's not quite ready, but I'm gonna slap it. There you go.
Ah, beautiful.
And then that's it. Okay? Oh, but the best part. Yeah, gracias. Okay, I'm gonna go outside because
Okay.
I can't be in here without my now bandana or face. Okay.
Thanks for the tour. That was great.
You're welcome.
So, Chef Ann, do you have a couple of questions from our students?
I do. We've had some coming in. So one of them has to do with writing a cookbook and any trial and error challenges. What was that like for you in really figuring out how to get that going, how to write a cookbook?
Yeah. So when I had the idea to write a cookbook, I knew I had to write a proposal, but I hadn't written anything. I didn't blog. I wasn't like a head chef somewhere. Like I didn't have a platform, you know, or anything like that. But I had an idea, a unique idea. And I actually took a class, a one-day workshop called How to Write a Cookbook Proposal. And I pitched my idea. My original idea was about candies in Mexico. And nobody in the class liked it. And I thought, they just don't know. They just don't know. They need to discover it. And there's a cookbook store here called Kitchen Arts and Letters. that if you don't know, you should look into it. I think they ship nationwide. It's an amazing bookstore. And I went to talk to them to pitch, not to pitch, to pick their brains about like, so what is it about certain books that have longevity? Like nowadays you have a lot of cookbooks that are very popular and they may sell a lot, you know, but it's kind of like, maybe they're Food Network stars, or it's something that's sort of like very trendy. And I wanted to write a book that had longevity, that, you know, that could be relevant now or in 20 years. And so he gave me a lot of advice, and he said, you know, when people look at cookbooks, you open a book, you look at, most people look at the front, sometimes the back, you go through a few pages, and then in the middle. And then, you know, you don't necessarily read it when you browse a cookbook, that's, you browse sort of back and forth. So whatever you do should transport you. Whatever your idea is should tell you a story, no matter where you open it. So it comes sort of like from that idea first. And then, you know, it's you have to write a cookbook proposal. And there's a lot of stuff online on the internet that are guidelines of certain things. And when you go through the process of writing the proposal, you're gonna figure out a lot of stuff, because it asks you to do like a sample chapter. And you have to think about two main things, like why would somebody want to read this book, and why you? Like, what is it about you that makes you the right person to write that book, you know? And that's sort of what you have to figure out yourself and then convey. I'm also gonna walk, because I wanna show you something else while you ask me.
Okay. And then some people were asking, what was the experience like transitioning from working in a restaurant to owning your own business?
It's hard. Okay, sorry. One, I'm gonna show you this. So this is our little tiendita. It's our little speakeasy shop. And so you can see people ring the doorbell, and when we're here producing, you can come and get all of those paletas. Can you see that?
Yeah, we can see it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can see it.
And then I wanted to show you this guy. So this is called San Pascual Bailon. He's the patron saint of the kitchens in Mexico. So even though I'm Jewish, I have to have my my patron saint of cooks. Sorry, I wanted to show you that. So it's hard because, you know, working in restaurants is, you know, it's very sociable, and that's very nice. It's very fun. It's that, you know, and when you have your own business, it can be very lonely, you know, not just because of, you know, you don't have sort of that team, or you have it, but it's in a different way, but also because you carry the weight of a lot of the decisions and a lot of the issues of having a business. Like, how are you gonna make sure sometimes, you know, that you're gonna be able to pay the rent, and you always think of yourself last, at least I do. You know, it's like, how do you take care of them? And you can't often share those worries, those concerns, or anything with them, because you don't want them to worry, you know?
Yeah.
So those kinds of things are very difficult.
What about, another question came in about, what is your process for determining, like, new recipes, what flavors and textures are going to work and are going to sell and appeal to your customers?
My problem is not what to create, but what to edit, you know? I always have like too much. I always want to do too much, too many ideas, too many things. And I often almost don't think about like, they're gonna like this. I almost never do. If something excites me, like I want to do it because I want to share it with them. So that's sort of the process. And I do try to have sort of different things. Like right now we're gonna launch like our ice cream cakes, which we've been wanting to do for a long time. And then we finally, because, you know, it's like my son just turned two weeks ago, and we were thinking about, well, originally we were gonna have like a big, big celebration, but we can't. And then we thought, well, if we make a cake, we're just gonna eat it, because it's gonna go bad in a couple of days. And if we have an ice cream cake, then it can hold, right? And so then that sort of, finally sparked to doing like a whole line of flavors. And I like odd numbers. And so we're like, well, we have to have like at least 3. So when we started writing down, I'm like, wait, but well, we don't have in these 3 like a chocolate one. Even though, like, I don't love chocolate ice cream, but my husband does. So we're like, we have to have a chocolate. I'm like, but which ones of these are we going to eliminate? We can't. So he says, we have to have 4. I'm like, we can't have 4. We're going to have 5 because 4 is an even number. So we decided on we're going to do 4 and then do a 5th one that's going to be rotating later on to announce. So it's not a specific thought process. It's more like it's continuous inspiration from different places, like not now, but often like if we go out to eat in a restaurant, that has nothing to do with what we do, or we go to a museum or something, like there's always inspiration. So I personally don't have a specific process, but it's always about what we're excited to do and share.
Well, I'll tell you though, the bulk of the questions actually are, where can we find your stuff? Do you ship? Are you online ordering?
So thank you, guys. I hope you were able to visit New York. But in the meantime, we do have nationwide shipping via Goldbelly. We ship our paletas, our ice cream, and a lot of our treats. Yeah, so nationwide, that's where you can get the stuff. And by the way, if anybody has any, sort of questions, I sometimes take long to answer just because we have a lot on our plate, but please feel free to reach out to info@lanewyorkina.com, and happy to share anything or answer anything. I'm so sorry about the mess, guys.
It's okay. It's okay. Well, we're at the end of our hour, and so I just wanted to say thank you to Chef Gerson. Thank you to Fany for spending this time with us, and thank you to the faculty and the students who are here with us today. I truly enjoyed this. It really was authentic, and it was educational. So it was just fantastic. So I appreciate it. And don't forget, for our students, Chef Ann is going to run the selection process for the lucky 3. And once you're selected, we're going to confirm your address, and we'll notify you and let you know if you're the winner of one of these signed copies of Chef Fany's books. So that's exciting. And I don't know. I think that's it. Chef Ann, do you have anything else?
I just want to say one thing. Like, I know that things are very difficult right now in many ways, and there's a lot of uncertainty. And, I do believe that food is very powerful and can bring people together, can help people have those difficult conversations, and can really change the world for the better. And I'm very proud to be part of this industry, and also that it's whatever you end up doing, it's probably not the road, and that's okay. And just, again, just be proud of where you come from and who you are, and celebrate that, whatever that is.
That's great. Great. That's a great way to finish our conversation. Thank you so much, Chef. I really appreciate it.
And then don't forget to visit us, lanewyorkina.com, when you come to New York.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chef. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye, classmates, students, and head chefs.
Thank you.